The Quest 3S versus the Pico 4 Ultra. What are the differences and which one is the best? Let's dive right into it. The Quest 3S is the entry-level VR headset from Meta that tries to deliver a great VR experience at a low cost, while the Pico 4 Ultra is more focused on some higher-end components and unique features that other VR headsets don't have. So let's start this comparison by talking about the hardware, because directly out of the box, we can see some big differences already, with the most obvious one being the head strap, of course. Now, while the Quest 3S is rocking a soft material dual band, the Pico 4 Ultra has a hollow strap design that also has the battery built into it. And while the Quest 3S strap can still be adjusted to put some weight more evenly over the back of your head, you will still feel quite some pulling after a while of using it. So it is nice to see that in this case, the Pico 4 Ultra comes with an elite style like head strap directly from the start. But a second big difference in the box is when we look at the controllers. Now, while both definitely seem to have a similar blueprint with their ringless design, I do have to say that the Quest 3S Touch Plus controllers feel a bit more premium. This goes from the grip and trigger buttons to the overall feel of its surface. And while the Pico 4 Ultra controllers are definitely not bad, they just feel a bit more plasticky when using them. Luckily, when it came to the tracking of the controllers as well as the hand tracking, both headsets seem to be doing a great job at it. And especially the Quest 3S, that thanks to its newer software updates, almost rarely loses sight of your hands at all. And it is also quite a lot more accurate when it comes to collision detection or the precision if you pick up and use an object. But besides the obvious differences we can see, one of the most important changes we should talk about is regarding the screen and lenses. Because while the Quest 3S is rocking the older Fresnel lenses that we also have in the Quest 2, it is the Pico 4 Ultra that takes it up a level by using the new standard pancake versions. And these make it possible for the front of the visor to be a lot more slimmer, as well as creating more clarity and reduced God rays when using them. And on top of that, the Pico 4 Ultra also has higher resolution screens built into it. That means that in combination with the newer lenses and better display, it will give you a sharper experience compared to the Quest 3S. And in addition, this also has an effect on the IPD adjustments, which is basically the space between the lenses itself, where the Quest 3S uses 3 different settings that you can choose between and that you can change on the fly by just moving the lenses either to left or right, while the Pico 4 Ultra uses a much more precise automatic IPD system that can be changed exactly to the settings that you need. However, we should also talk about the performance, because surprisingly, both these headsets are using the same powerful XR2 Generation 2 chip, with this being the most advanced version available for any standalone VR headset. But what that means is that while the lenses and screen on the Quest 3S might be lower, at the end of the day, both are still having the same processing power. But the Pico 4 Ultra does have 12GB of RAM compared to the 8GB on the 3S. And that gets us to one of the biggest features of both headsets, which is the mixed reality. Since thanks to the built-in full-color cameras that you can see on the outside, we can now finally interact with virtual screens and objects inside our real living home environment. And that creates a big new chapter by saying goodbye to the black and white grainy textures that we had on the Quest 2. But while the Quest 3S is making use of 4MP cameras, the Pico 4 Ultra goes all out with 2 pairs of 32MP cameras instead, while also adding in the possibility to record and watch spatial videos thanks to the built-in depth sensor, which is similar to what we also have on the Apple Vision Pro. Oh, and when you're watching back video or audio, it might also be good to note that both the Quest 3S and Pico 4 Ultra do not have a headphone jack anymore. So while, for example, the Quest 3S does have some amazing 3D audio built into the head strap, it might be good to keep this in mind if you normally use wired headphones. But that gets us to probably the most important thing, which is the games. Because while the Quest 3S might have taken some big hits until now when it comes to the hardware, they make up for it big time when we look at all the available titles, with Meta's gaming library growing significantly every day, while also including a lot of big exclusives that can be played anywhere else. Think about things like Assassin's Creed Nexus that lets you free run across the cities while also doing some stealth missions just like the original games, or maybe the massive open world RPG known as Asgard's Wrath 2, which gives you more than 100 hours of exploring that goes from intense combat to puzzle solving and everything in between, or maybe the highly praised Batman Arkham Shadows that got included with a lot of headsets. And the list just goes on and on, with also so many more big franchises and titles on the way right now. So it really seems like Meta went all in when it came to getting studios and big VR games to their platform. But on the other hand, the Pico 4 Ultra still has some major VR titles unlocked. It does fall short when you look at all the exclusives. And while some games are still slowly making its way to the Pico ecosystem, they would have to catch up a lot if they want to be on par with the massive gaming library of Meta. So if the main reason that you're using a VR headset is to play some awesome VR games, then the Quest 3S is a big win. winner right here. But it is also worth to mention that both of these can also be connected to your PC and play some Steam VR games on it too, which gives you access to one of the best VR games of all time, like for example Half-Life Alyx, which is still used today to be compared to when it comes to the graphics and realism inside virtual reality. Of course, playing some high-end games wirelessly will drain your battery like crazy, and while both headsets bring about the same 2.5 hours of gameplay on a single charge, the Pico 4 Ultra does have the option for fast charging, while the Quest 3S can be upgraded with, for example, a battery-like head strap that can give it some extra juice, meaning that in this case, each headset has their own advantages. Also, if you've made it so far into the video and you love VR, then hitting that like button down below would be a really big help to get this out to more people. But that gets us to a very unique feature of the Pico 4 Ultra, since you can choose to add some trackers to your setup that can unlock full body tracking. And to be honest, this is pretty cool, because if you are a big fan of social VR games, like VRChat for example, then being able to have full body trackers without needing a crazy expensive setup can be an absolute game changer. Now of course, not all games support these, but Meta doesn't have any official options like sensors or trackers at the moment at all. So while it might still be a very niche addition, I think this can have some great potential. But of course, we should also talk about the biggest difference of all, which is the price, with the main selling point of the Quest 3S being that it comes in at a price point of $300. Now while the Pico 4 Ultra starts at about $650, it also has double the storage at 256 gigabytes. So you can technically buy the Quest 3S 2 times and still have some money left over for some awesome VR games. And while Meta also makes it possible for you to get a higher storage option, you will then be paying $400 for the 256 gigabyte model, which does close in the gap between them a bit more. And I will also of course leave a link to both of these in the description below that will give you some nice discounts, so make sure not to miss out on that. But that gets us to the final conclusion. The Meta Quest 3S and the Pico 4 Ultra are both amazing standalone VR headsets, but they do have some big differences. Where on one side, the Quest 3S is winning big when it comes to the lowest price cost in combination with the most and best VR games available. And on the other side, the Pico 4 Ultra uses some more advanced hardware that goes all the way from an improved head strap to better lenses and a higher resolution display, as well as the cool possibility to add some extra sensors for full body tracking. So deciding which one is best for you will depend on your budget as well as what you're looking for inside a VR headset. So if you mainly want to use it for standalone VR gaming and don't want to break the bank for it, then the Quest 3S is probably your best bet. But if you care more about PC VR gaming in combination with the highest quality and some nice comfort upgrades, then the Pico 4 Ultra might be a great option for you too. But that's not all, because if you want to see a more detailed review on the Quest 3S, then click on the video you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out. And of course, stay awesome.